right? So it's important for me to start this message about nutrition by speaking about the mind, because I think that's the key to all of our success. See, the thing is, knowledge by itself, it's not enough. Like, I think that many of you have been working with me for a while now, realize that it's the execution of that knowledge. It's being able to take information and apply it. Without being able to apply that information, it's worthless. It means nothing. So it's not enough just to have knowledge. So if I was to just go straight into nutrition and go, this is how macros work, this is how you create a meal, a balanced meal, then without fully understanding that, it's been able to apply it consistently with discipline for a given period of time that's sustainable, which directs you to your dream outcome. It doesn't usually last. So that's why we're starting here. So if you are taking some notes, then this is what the first note that I want you to take. And that is, if you want to write down principle 1 of 5 that I'm going to talk about today. Knowledge alone isn't enough, right? So it's very important for us to understand that. I'm going to shoot through this and go through quickly, but these are the principles that we have to establish our success on. So being able to apply something is more important than the actual information, all right? So what is the tool, or what is required for us to apply that information? And that's our attitude. Now, I say attitude because attitude, it's actually not just one, but many. Our attitudes are what establish our mindset. If we see something in a certain way, and let's say, as an example, I'll hear a lot of people say, oh, I hate doing this exercise, or I hate this exercise, I hate training legs, or I hate training. It's like your attitude towards training is the reason why it feels so hard. If you changed your attitude towards the training, maybe you'll learn to love it, and soon you'll see the benefit from the training that will supersede all your expectations. Now, that's changing your attitude about something. So our attitudes determine how we apply that knowledge. That's how we start to build a good mindset. Now, when we have now start to establish our good mindset, the third principle, so second principle, is that attitudes determine how we apply knowledge. And the third principle I want to share with you is when we've got a good mindset, we need to set a goal that is so meaningful that it's a non-negotiable. All right. So the relationship that we have to our dream outcome, that matters. If it's a, oh, I'd like to have that, but it's not that important, I don't really have to put in the work, then you'll never actually get anywhere. It needs to be non-negotiable. Here's an example. If someone has a desire, I've got actually a few clients that are getting ready for stage. One of them in particular I'm thinking about right now is flying. She's just on fire, focused, because in her head, it's a non-negotiable. She has to get on stage and she has to produce something that blow her own mind and everybody else's. It's a non-negotiable. Her desire is super, super high. And many of you, I talk about this, you have to have a why, a reason. Otherwise, you don't actually apply. So that's the non-negotiable, really meaningful goal that you set. And if you don't have it, that it's a non-negotiable, then trust me, little things become big things. Like, for example, food. When food is actually it's a very powerful tool, but it's very easy to understand and it's pretty small. We can make that thing huge. And it's like, oh, I don't know what to do with my food. I don't know where to turn. I have no idea. All right. And we make something little big. And it could be other things too, like getting yourself to the gym. Could be getting enough sleep, could be just making sure no one's waiting to get into the call. But we can turn something that's really small into something really big if we don't have a meaningful, non-negotiable reason, a why, that we're going to get to our dream outcome. So this here leads us back to the most important thing And that is the relationship with our goal, or that non-negotiable, that dream outcome, comes from the relationship that we have with ourselves. Now, many of you listen to me talk about this all the time, but it's so important. If you have expectations for yourself that you don't address, that you don't work for, that you don't prove that is important, then that's not important. I did a video on this a little while ago. If you tell me that you love yourself, but you can't prove it through your lifestyle, through your behavior, through your pattern of life, I'm not going to believe it. Like, you can say things, but it's in the doing that you prove it. So our relationship to that dream outcome is essentially directly linked to that non-negotiable, has to happen. It's a meaningful why. It's like a purpose, right? So now that's what gets us to the goal. It's how we see ourselves. So those are the things I wanted to share with you before I go into the macros. The reason why I do this is because I want to make the food thing that seems huge really little. Simplify it, make it easy to understand. And then as you start to create your own meals, you put things, ingredients together that create your own macro meals, then you start to learn, and then you become empowered. But ultimately, you need to be able to start with something that's easy, like, for example, a 3-ingredient meal. You should be able to eat that, knowing that you're getting sufficient macronutrients, calories, protein, fiber, and be happy and satisfied with that meal, knowing what it's doing to help you get to your dream outcome. So that's why I start with this stuff, because without having the right attitudes, application doesn't happen. All right. Before I start with the macros, if you want to turn your mic off and ask any question in relation to what I've just spoken about. All of you are shy. I usually have such good one-on-ones, so the conversations, they flow back and forth when we're talking about this stuff. But that's fine.
Hey, David.
Let's go for it, Jay.
I'm just thinking of a question. So when you're talking about, or do you have any advice on how to sort of pinpoint or identify what is that goal? What is the why?
Yeah. Yeah. Look, Joe, that's something that we all have to figure out what our outcome is. What's the thing that's going to make us super happy with ourselves? I know that we've been talking about this stuff in your case, so I'm going to try and think about it in relation to you. I won't actually, I recall the first conversation we had, so I won't share some of those personal things that you shared with me there. But I know that where you're at isn't where you said that you want to get to. If I put it to you like that, like, I can see the place that you should be or get to, that you told me that you want to get to, and then things have become rocky and difficult in the process. And so then and I should actually touch on this, but there's basically 7 stages of change that we go through. We've spoken about this one-on-one, but everybody can benefit from this. When we go through change, let's say it's a habit or behavior that needs changing, we think about it, then we talk about it, then we plan, then we take action, and then we practice it, and then we get to a point where we can maintain it. But this is what happens. Unless you create permanency with it in that maintenance phase, meaning it's like when you're on a journey and you're so far away from the origin that you never think about it, right? I come from South Africa. I'm so far away from South Africa. I've lived in the UK for 10 years. I've lived in Australia for 10 years. I never think about South Africa. So that I'm not South African, because I don't think and live like a South African. I live like an Australian. I act like an Australian. This is my life now. So if you think about it like that, you make it permanent in your behaviors. This is what happens. Relapse is the thing that comes when you're trying to break or change a habit. And then you get to this point where you have to now reconsider or reactivate the whole process. So in those stages of change, you've gone so far in that maintenance, and then maybe in the last 4 weeks, there's this relapse, activation, reactivation thing happening. But trust me, Joe, you are so close and you've come so far. Just hang in, just hang in. We'll spend some more time one-on-one. But this stuff that I'm talking about right now, it needs to sink deep. It needs to go in really deep so that this becomes like the way that you think, what you meditate on. Because trust me, that self-love that we have, this, I was just letting someone else in there. The self-love that we have must be proven in our actions, and that when we're see our dream outcome, we work towards it. Maybe you and I need to spend a bit more time getting very clear on the outcome. What is it that you want? And make it objective, right? So that it's not a feeling, but it's an actual destination. Not that I ever want anybody to think that your fitness journey is a destination. Why I say that is because once you get to a point, you have to move on from that, because otherwise you're going to go backwards. I hope that makes sense. Like, I don't want anybody to think, oh, I have to lose 10 kilos and that's my goal. And when I lose 10 kilos, that's it. It's not. You lose the 10 kilos, then you go, I'm going to gain 3 kilos of muscle. Okay, now I'm going to get strong. Okay, I'm going to lose another 2 kilos of fat. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And you have to think like that, because otherwise you're just going to drift backwards. And remember, the stages of change, you can relapse easily. So that's, anyway, I went quite far and quite deep and shared a lot about that, Joe, but I think one-on-one is going to be quite useful for you here.
That was really helpful, David. I'm sure other people found that really helpful as well. So thank you. It was a little light bulb went off for me as you were talking about the stages of change, and relapse is part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, that was very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, and one thing, when you're setting goals, would you suggest that we should be doing, like, using that SMART acronym?
So I'm going to get to that. Let me just
Okay, sure.
finalize what you just said. I just want, if you, okay, great. Thanks, Kristen. So just so you know, it's common. So like, just so you know, it's very common to like fall down, right? So the thing is, I call you warriors, but you see, warriors are people who fight for purpose, who they keep getting up when they fall down. That's what a warrior does. If a soldier gets shot in the leg, they get carried on a stretcher, put in a helicopter, and out they go. They're out of the battle. But a warrior doesn't do that. They take a bandage, tie it up, bang, they're right back on their feet and off they go. And that's the warrior mindset. And I've done a video on this, and it's actually, when I change the app, it might be in YouTube. But ultimately, everyone is going to fall down. You will fall down. Don't think that you're like a bad person, you're weak, you've got no willpower. Don't think negative. Think that, okay, this is normal and it's part of the process. I'm going to get better. The thing is, we only fail when we quit. I hope that makes sense, because winners never quit, quitters never win. You cannot succeed if you give up. You will never. That's the only time it's like, oh, it's over. This isn't going to happen anymore. So it's very common. It's very normal. So don't beat yourself up about it. And if you noticed how I work with you individually, when you fall down, what do? I just help you get back up. I don't take a whip and go, bang, look at you, how bad you were. You know, never, no chance. Because I know how hard it is, right? Someone sent me, I don't know if she's on the call. She sent me a little image, and it was like, dear athletes, it is hard. It's like you're doing something that most people can't do or won't do. It is hard. Keep going, coach. And I was like, how good is that? So encouraging. But that's how I work with you all. It's normal. I'm going to help you get back up every time you fall down. But I want you to have that warrior mindset. That's why I call you warriors. Okay. Now, with regards to setting goals, I'm going to quickly touch on this. I think that experience will help you decide what is a sustainable goal, right? What is an achievable and sustainable goal? Because anything is possible. And I do think that you should set time frames on things, but also don't think that we should limit ourselves to those time frames, because it's not that straightforward. Like someone who joined the call, I said to them, 16 weeks, I want you to focus on fat loss, right? But that is like, if by week 8 they've achieved good fat loss, and I'm like, okay, let's just change things around now and focus on building muscle or strength, then that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to be dogmatic with the time thing. I'm not going to be like, if I say it's going to take 16 weeks and it took 30 weeks, doesn't matter. We got to the goal, right? You don't be so pressure, put that much pressure on you with the time thing, because life happens. We will fall down, and it's not that simple and straightforward. And that sort of negative pressure of time, it can be quite shitty, I'll be honest. Measurable, absolutely. You have to be able to track the stuff. It must be specific for sure. It must be like this, right? You must have a very detailed outcome. That's probably the best way to look at it. Very detailed outcome that you know how to describe, right? You know how to measure, and it's something that you can sustain. Very important. I had a client recently start with me, said they did the 75-day hard. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. It's 75 days, and you have to do all these crazy stupid things, like you got to do 100 push-ups a day, you got to drink 5 liters of water a day, you got to eat a certain amount of calories, you got to do 2 workouts a day, you got to do cardio session a day. It's some stupid 75-day thing. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but it's dumb. Well, the first time I heard of it, I was like, what idiot put this together? Because you know what? They did it for 67 days, lost 9 or so kilos, and guess how much they gained when they fell off the wagon at day 67? More, all of it and more. I said, did you feel like you wasted your time? Yeah, I felt, yeah. If you feel like that time that you spent, that valuable asset that you have, that thing that's precious that you're going to run out of, was wasted. Yeah, feels terrible. So don't do things that are not sustainable. Right, any questions before I move into the macros? All right, I'll get started. Right, so many of you already understand that we have proteins, carbs, and fats, and there's another nutrient called fiber. Fiber is part of the carbohydrate family, right? So protein, I'll say this, just so you know that the macronutrients is what we're talking about, but ultimately the number one and most important thing when it comes to your food is, does anyone know what this is? Do you want to type it in? Let me see if you guys been paying attention to me. Who wants to comment on that? I want to leave it to you here because I think that's important, because don't be shy. What's the most important part of nutrition? No good or bad food? That's good. I like that. Right. For the sake of time, I'm just going to move forward with calories, right? We know that calories are king. Calories are the most important thing. And the thing is, I sent somebody a message today, and there's some nutrition stuff, right? I sent a voice note. I said, listen, the biggest and worst problem with nutrition is that the whole world is asking, what must I eat? What must I eat? What must I eat? They ask this question, what must I eat? Because it's so confusing, right? It's been made to be so confusing, so people don't understand it, but it's not confusing, it's easy. I said, that's not the most important question. The most important question is, how much must I eat? So each person needs a certain amount of food, and that's your calories. Now, protein, carbohydrates, and fats contain calories. That is the energy, the energy unit for each gram. There's 4 for carbs, 4 for protein, and 9 for fats. Okay, and fiber doesn't have any. When we eat or choose foods, the first thing we should be thinking about is protein. All right, the protein needs to be the first thing that's like, all right, I'm going to eat a meal, so you should be thinking, where's my protein going to come from? Okay, and if you can answer that question, then you can build the rest of your food. So you will have a specific calorie target. It's inside of your app. And then I'll set your protein. I will put some carbs and fats, but they're not that important. What matters most is if you hit your calories, and the second thing, you hit your protein. Okay. With regards to protein, it's a very beneficial to have the right amount of protein for your body, not just for like building tissue, but there's other benefits too, right? The amino acids that are inside of the protein-rich foods and the nutrients that are inside these protein-rich foods are useful, very useful. They're essential, right? There's amino acids that are your body's unable to make, right? So we have to consume it through food. And there is a formula ratio, but roughly it's about 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. And that formula is a fail-safe. It's quite a straightforward formula. But a really cool thing to know about protein is that your body spends about 20 to 30% of the calories to digest it. So that's why you feel fuller, because the digestive process is slower. So think about it like this. If you ate 100 calories of protein, your body will burn 20 to 30 calories just to break that 100 calories down. So your net calories is only 80, 70, or 80. So high protein diets will always have a lower calorie net, and so they tend to work better, all right? But not just that, because of the muscle building effects and the replenishing of tissue, when we are building muscle and we're in this process of hypertrophy, when we're doing that, our metabolic rate goes up. So that's why it's so important as well. The second, and here's just like my take on this. You can be vegan, you can be vegetarian, that's fine, but nothing will beat eating meat, chicken, fish, beef, especially beef. I've said this to many people. If you had to choose one food, that would be my food for a person to eat their whole life. Just beef. If there was just one, beef would keep you alive and healthiest for longest. And cool. And eggs. And then you obviously do get protein inside of plants, and they do make up some of it, but the majority of your protein, if you can trust me on this, don't be vegan just for the sake of it. If you have certain beliefs, that's fine. But if you want yourself to be as healthy as possible, vegan and vegetarian diets aren't as beneficial. Okay, that's my take. In my years of experience, that's what I'll believe, because that's the information that I've received and I've learned over the years. Until there's better information brought to my attention, that's what I teach. When it comes to carbohydrates, your body will burn about 10% of those, and these are plants, right? Now, plants do produce some fat, like seeds and nuts. They produce a lot of fat, avocado, that's all plant, but mostly plants will produce carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are broken into the complex and simples like the sugar, but ultimately don't think about it in too much detail. But when you eat a carb, your body breaks it down and it turns it into glucose. Your body will only recognize in its bloodstream glucose. So if you ate milk protein, sugar, or apple sugar, if you had fructose or sucrose or galactose, or it doesn't matter, your body will turn it into glucose. So you can have any carbs and ultimately it turns it into glucose. Now this is just, I'm just sharing this because this is why when Aggie wrote, there's no good or bad food. This is why, because your body will take and extract the nutrients that it uses, right? You might eat a cake and you're thinking in your head, oh, I just ate cake. But your body is just going, I just had 75 grams of sugar, which is glycogen, and I've had 30 grams of fat. Bang. So it doesn't know in your stomach whether you had cake or whether you had avocado, nuts, and a banana. It doesn't know the difference. The only difference is the micronutrients that are inside of the foods can be beneficial. So we know that avocado, nuts, and banana is going to be a better long-term health choice than eating a cake. That makes sense, right? Yeah. Right, and then fats. Now, fats, I just want to share this. You don't have to go for fats in your nutrition. You don't have to seek out fats because the fats usually come in the carbohydrate foods and in the protein foods. So if you ate eggs and steak, for example, you're going to get some saturated fat. And the reason why I like saturated fat is because your sex hormones are made from saturated fat. So you need it. If you try to avoid all saturated fat, then you'll have a deficiency in that area. Same thing with eggs. Cholesterol that you get from eggs, beneficial, helps you make testosterone. Very, very useful. So, and then you get poly and monounsaturated fats from oils and like cooking oils and even salad, like putting it on your salad and so on. Or you can eat seeds and nuts and avocados, that sort of thing. But I don't start the meal there. I finish the meal there. All right, starting the meal with the protein, finishing it at the fat. Okay, any questions so far with understanding macronutrients?
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Can
Yeah.
I ask you if I can hop on there? Oh, sorry, that's not meant for you, David. Sorry. I unmuted myself by accident. Sorry.
That's all right. I'll
I'm
mute
doing
you.
cardio.
Okay, I'll mute you. That's going to be on my video.
David, did, David, did you just say there was an order we should eat, like in a meal?
No,
Did you
no,
just
no. That's not what I said. I
Okay.
hope
I
nobody,
thought you said fats at the end.
when you're making the meal, when you're creating a meal. I hope you guys didn't misunderstand me. When you're creating a meal and you're choosing ingredients for a meal, first search out the protein source, secondly the carb source, and lastly the fat source, right? But you can swap the fats and the carbs around, but I would always push for carb rich, protein rich diet plan. Like when you think about the type of body we're going to build, right? We want high muscle mass, low body fat. So what we're going to do is we're going to need to eat sufficient nutrients with high amounts of usable energy. That's going to have high amounts of amino acids to replenish and restore and build tissue. And we want high carbohydrates to have fill our bloodstream and our muscles and our glycogen with energy to perform, lift weights, build, damage the tissue so that we can then build. When you're thinking about fats, they have 9, and we are always going to control our calories, right? Whether you're in a building phase or in a fat loss phase, you have to control calories. You can't just go, bang, I'm eating lots of food and bulking. It doesn't work, right? You'll get depressed. 9 calories per gram. That means you don't have a lot of leeway when it comes to fats. If you add 100 grams of fats, you're at 900 calories for the day. So most of you eating what, 15 to 18, 2000 a day. It's like half your calories just from fat. You don't want to do that. Rather have high carbs, high protein, and bring your fats down. And when you have your fats, you'll have it from meat, you'll have it from some of the plants that you can consume. Yeah, for example, like oats. Oats contains fat. And like that's my breakfast every day. And sometimes, well, actually I add peanut butter as well. So nut or legume. And oats, protein powder. And that's like how I start my day. We'll get into the different meals for the moment, but I don't suggest starting a meal or creating a meal with fat as a focus. Should be the last thing that you add to your plate. Does that make sense?
Yep, that's awesome.
Okay. Anyone else want to just ask anything about understanding macros? Okay. Right. Now this is what I'm trying to achieve with you guys. What I'm trying to do is get you to the point where you have power, control, autonomy when it comes to your food. That's why we're on this, right? Now, the only way that you're going to have that is when you start to learn how, right? But if I throw nutrition at you without the stuff that I started with, you'll be looking at it like, wow, it's such a huge thing. But if you change it so that you go, okay, I'm important. My expectations I have for myself are important. My meaningful, non-negotiable dream outcome is important to me because that's the representation of what I believe about myself. Then when you look at nutrition, you go, I'm going to learn this. I'm going to take the time. I'm going to spend the time. I'm going to add my food to MyFitnessPal. I'm going to learn from each recipe that I see. I'm going to dissect this thing. And all of a sudden, something that was huge becomes little or feels easy. I hope that makes sense to you. That's the purpose of this call. I want you guys to understand that I want you, and over from now and moving forward, to get to the point where you autonomous, understand, like me. I don't have to weigh and measure my food. I don't have to track it in FitnessPal because it's here. I look at the food, I've memorized it, I know what I'm eating. I'll know that I'll be eating 3,000 calories when I choose to. And you won't get there soon, but you will get there one day. Don't do that until you're actually in your dream outcome and like really in that maintenance that you will not relapse, because I don't relapse. Just so you know, there is a stage of change that it's permanency, right? Inside of maintenance. You don't go backwards. You just stay there for the rest of your life. Now, what I'd like everybody to do is to have a go-to list of foods. Now, I think that usually 3 different breakfast options make sense, 5 different lunch and 5 different dinner options. And even that is a bit of a stretch, right? Most of the time, I believe that people tend to keep reverting back to very similar things, especially breakfast and lunch. And maybe dinner is a bit more like explore different recipes and so on. So I want to quickly say that if you had 3 different breakfasts, put it in the chat. What are the 3 different breakfasts that you can just put one option down? I'll take ideas from you guys. All right, I'll start while I wait for 2 others to. There we go. Overnight oats. Right, so overnight oats. Good. Smoothies, eggs and bacon, beans. Cool. Right, there we go. So now I'm just going to show you how you can turn this whole thing like eggs. Eggs is your protein source, right? So from eggs, you can literally, there's 50 different options with egg as your protein source. Like there's 10 different types of omelet you can make. There's egg on toast, egg on this, egg on even sweet potato. You can do so much if you make egg your focus for your breakfast, right? I like to keep it simple. So this would be my suggestion. I would, because bacon is high in fat, especially unnecessary saturated fat, I would prefer not to have bacon. Like I wouldn't eat it because I'm going to control my calories. So I'd have egg, slice of toast, maybe some tomato and spinach. That would be like a very, and salt and pepper, easy, high proteins, got some fats, got carbs. And if I need a bigger portion, I'd have 2 slices of toast. So that would be the way I would do it. We'll have an extra egg. The oats, there's like inside of the new app, guys, there's like 20 different overnight oats options. So yes, overnight oats, awesome. I'm just going to give you my super simple oats recipe. Oats in the microwave with water, cook it for 2 minutes. Once it's like cooked, it might be even 3 minutes if you like it like super. And this is quick oats, right? Once it comes out, add a scoop of whey protein, mix it in. It starts to make it really creamy. Vanilla whey, I don't have any other flavors for an oats. You can have chocolate or whatever, but I've tried it, hate it. Vanilla, you can add some cinnamon to it, and you can put some peanut butter, or you can put raisins and almonds, or raisins and walnuts. Very simple. But it takes you 5 minutes to make. You could do that 3 days a week, and it's done. And you know the portion, you hit your macros, your protein's there, your carbs are there, bang. It's so easy. Nothing to worry about. And you know what you do? You're getting closer to your dream outcome. And you didn't go, I had to eat oats again. You know, you just went like, oats is my meal, or eggs is my meal, or this is my meal. Bang. It's one of my top 3 that I've chosen to be my, and dang, off you
They're
go.
washing on that line. They're washing on the line.
No, not on my line. All right. So I just muted you, Sheldon. So now let's go to the next one, lunch. This one here, there's so many different kinds of lunches. Give me an idea. Give me some ideas, guys. Sorry, doing chores and cooking dinner at the same time. Yep. All right, let's go with some dinner. There we go. Tuna, cottage cheese, rice cakes, tin, salmon. Yeah, salmon. Cool. So those chicken, rice, spinach. Yep, perfect. Cottage cheese is so versatile. Yeah. Tuna is as well, and chicken is as well. All right. Cool. Yeah. So this is my favorite of the three. I would go for like a chicken lunch. I think that chicken, it's a type of meat that you can eat in the day. It can be cold. You can warm it up or keep it cold. You can have it with any type of carbs, sweet potatoes, quinoa, rice. You can have it on toast or in a slice of bread, in a wrap. You could even have a chicken with lettuce wrap, or you could have chicken and vegetable, chicken and fruit, whatever. Like there's so much you can do with chicken as a staple protein source. The cottage cheese, tuna are the two great options during the day, but I also like them as snacks. So I like cottage cheese on a rice cake as a snack. I think that that's a very easy way to get a high protein snack, but also being a small little portion. The thing about steak and fish, I like to keep that sort of stuff for the dinner time, the evening time. Okay, cool. So there are like heaps of comments. What do you guys eat? What do you eat during the day, guys? Let me ask. Sarah, what do you eat during the day? You just type it in if you like. No. Oh, there. Mostly do chicken for lunch and steak for dinner. Yeah, okay. So yeah, that's Kerry, yeah. Richard, what do you do for lunch? I'm not very adventurous. Yeah, but that's the thing, right? And that's salad tuna. And this is what I want to, this is the thing, right? This is kind of like what I'm trying to get to. Food is not about an adventure. It's not. Like you have a dream outcome, you want to eat to serve that dream outcome. You want to serve yourself. If you love yourself, you serve yourself, you serve that dream outcome. You don't, like, you must look at food as a tool. It's not for emotional satisfaction or soothing. It's not for it can be for all those things, entertaining, it can be for socializing, but don't see it as that for what you're trying to achieve. And there's heaps of people in the world, 95% of the people in the world see it like that. Therefore, the medical and the health system is over, like so many people are suffering with heart disease, diabetes, obesity, sicknesses related to metabolic health, right? Why? Because they see food like that. So that's just what I'm saying. Like when you start to say things like, oh, it's bland, or I'm not adventurous. It's like, no, you should change. Is it serving your purpose? Can you make it flavorsome so that you can enjoy it to get you to where you want to be? It needs to be like that. And of course, you're going to eat delicious things here and there, but you need to get disciplined with how you see food. It needs to be the right tool, right? It mustn't be, and that's why a lot of people fall back into the relapse, because they see food as emotional soothing, right? Because that's a habit that's been there in the past. So we need to change that. And so I hope that makes sense. I'm glad that I got to share that because it's so important. Easy, convenient. Yeah, always flavorsome, just easy and convenient. Yeah. Chicken rice breast. Okay, cool. See that chicken tuna keeps coming through there. Dinner, like something that you can cook on a stove or in an oven is usually like the way I see your dinners going. Steak, if you can have steak 3 days or 4 days a week, I have steak every single night with a variation of vegetables and carbs. I do that because a while back, I used to do it like in England when I was living there, literally just ate steak every single night. And then it started changing. I was like, so this. But my wife had a diagnosis of low iron a while back, and she had an infusion, and And I was just like, you know what? She has suffered with low iron for like since the first child. She's a 4, so 50, let's say 13 years of struggling with it. So tired all the time, getting up, struggling to get up in the morning. So I'm like, nah. I just said, damn it, we're gonna eat steak every single day, and she hasn't had a problem since. So, iron comes back every test fine. Okay, so there's a purpose to the tool. In my case, it's like I serve my wife steak every single night so that she is healthy. All right. And then we vary the vegetables. And no, like if we go out for dinner, we'll eat something else. That's fine. But does that make sense? Dinner options. You guys can go crazy here. Tell me what you mostly do. Yeah. All right, I'll just quickly keep adding. So steak, sweet potato, broccoli, and zucchini. Steak, yeah, see, steak's common, right? Steak, veg, sweet potato. Yeah, perfect. I will air fried salmon. Yeah, there we go. That was the next one I was gonna say. Like fish, especially salmon, quinoa, meat, veggies. Yeah, chicken, veg. Oh, yeah, that's good. Yeah, cool. See, it's coming through really straightforward and simple already from most of you. Not everybody's commenting, but the point is what you're saying, it's right. Like it's just keep it simple, but just make sure that it's nutritious and it's hitting your macros, right? I will say that if you're selecting food and you want health to be the big priority, you can eat packet food, you can eat frozen food, you can eat anything, right? But you can go down that path of trying to source your food, make sure you're getting organic. You can get grass-fed beef. You can get Alaskan salmon. You can do all that stuff. But you also, and I do recommend it, but it's not like you don't know 100%. You still don't know. Even so that you go and source it, you just still don't know. The best thing to do is get regular blood tests to make sure that you're getting sufficient nutrients through and you're healthy in that way, right? When it comes to the fish, like I don't really eat a lot of fish, but this is where fat and a meat are quite beneficial. So oily fish like salmon, sardines, mackerel, if throwing them in a couple times a week can be very, very beneficial for keeping cholesterol levels down. Like no one on the call, I think one of you on the call I can see has a bit of cholesterol, high cholesterol that I can recall. But that's the point, right? We want to take in some of those fish oil or monounsaturated fat to help raise HDL, lower LDL, so it improves our cardiovascular system. But besides that, eating steak every single night, that's going to be fine. If you've got cholesterol problems, then maybe throw in 2 or 3 days of fish, like oily fish. And then white fish is so easy. You can eat huge portions of white fish because they're so filled with water, not hardly anything else but protein and water. And then vary the different carbohydrate sources for it. Snacks, things like protein bars and those types of things, YoPros and all these things that kind of like come packaged. You can have that. That's fine. I don't. I snack on real food, like things that like fruits, like that, yogurt, like what's this, cottage cheese, tuna. I like to eat my food. The only thing that I have that's like from a packet is my whey protein. And if I eat bread, I'll obviously eat bread that's been processed like that. But most of the time, it's food that's just, that you can catch, or you can chase down, or you can pick off of a tree, pull out of the ground. And that's my recommendation, to keep it simple. So if you want to be healthy, staying on that topic, then anything you can chase, you can catch, you can catch in a trap, you can shoot, that sort of thing, like any kind of meat. And then plants, things that you can pick, things you can pull out the ground, even some grains, like all the grains are fine. Rice, excellent, actually. Yeah, rice. Quinoa is not a grain, it's a seed, but oats, yeah, all of it's good, actually. Okay, cool. So I need to open up the questions here to try to answer anything that's specifically relating to you. And from this point, what I'll do is I'm going to end the recording so that you guys feel comfortable just speaking out.